How many guitar players out there, when you hear them, you know exactly who it is within seconds? It's a real small handful, isn't it? For me, coming up with mostly 80s hair metal, the players I could name in 5 notes or less were Eddie, Steve Vai, Yngwie, Dimebag, and maybe Stevie Ray. Nowadays, I think of players like Tim Henson, Pliny, and Mark Holcomb from Periphery maybe. Who are the players that you know right away like that? Tell me in the comments below. And the thing is that there are so many great players out there who maybe you recognize because you know the band and the song they're on, but you probably wouldn't recognize them if they made a guest appearance on someone else's song. It's just not like with singing voices where each tone is so unique. On guitar, 1,000 players can use the same amp and settings. I mean, I think everyone at some point cranks up their amps and plays this stuff, right? Boomer bends. Being instantly recognizable is like a whole other level. So today what I want to talk about are some thoughts on how you can get on that path and maybe start to develop your own unique voice. And welcome to Music with Marky. Before I dive in further, I think I need to preface this by saying that I'm on this journey myself, and this video is like a workshop session between you and me. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked myself when I really started thinking about this. What is the one most important thing you need to develop a completely unique and recognizable style? I'm going to give you a minute to ponder this. The answer? Courage. Courage, dude? Really? We're playing guitar, not taking on enemy marauders.
The Lord tells me he can get me out of this mess.
It's true, though. You see, a unique style can come from one of two approaches, or even both of these at the same time. The first one is to use a totally unique tone or sound, and the second is to play the instrument differently than anyone else has ever done. Let's talk about the tone approach first, and I mean it when I say it takes courage. Think of the advent of distortion and how that was a tone that came from basically a broken piece of equipment. But guys like Chuck Berry owned it and had the courage to lean into a tone others thought was trash. And what came of that was a sound that made them play the instrument differently and ushered in a whole new era of playing. Or go forward a bit to the 80s and think of this tone. Dimebag from Pantera played with that tone that would have had 99.9% of every other player back then rushing over to fix the EQ knobs on their amps. But he leaned into it and let it inform his ideas instead of trying to sound like everyone else. So there's the one path, and you have to have the courage to mess with truly unique tones and see if they lead to a whole boatload of creative ideas for you. In this area, I must admit that I've only dabbled a bit myself. The other area is where my own head is at, and that's the second aspect, to try playing in a completely unique fashion. Now when I say this, I don't mean everything about your playing is new and unique. That would just be weird for the sake of being weird. When you think of trendsetters on guitar, you get guys that mixed up familiar things with the new things that they made up, or things that other players did a touch of, and they made it a much bigger part of their own playing. Like tapping with Eddie Van Halen. Players had tap notes before him plenty. But Eddie took something they did in small spots, or was seen in music that wasn't so well known, and made it the cornerstone of an entire compositional style. Nowadays, you can think of players like Tim Henson, who I mentioned before, approaching the instrument in a completely different way, or even the entire genre of metal, commonly called djent, where players are taking staccato to a whole new level. So my main point here is that on top of just having your subtly unique interpretation of guitar, to really stand out, you're going to have to look at and play the instrument in some novel way. And like I said, I'm on this journey too, and I probably haven't achieved that "you know it's me" from 5 notes or less status. But now you know the ingredients, and maybe you'll be the one to get there. Let me know what you think below. Is it even important, or do you think it's cool to just have your own take on basically what's come before? It's something to think about, and until next time, guys, keep making great music.
Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.